For my project, I had originally planned to recreate some of Leonardo da Vinci's works in my own art style. The goal was to look into what made the pieces so recognizable and break it down, adding my own spin on it. When I initially started this process, the first piece I had chosen for my project was The Last Supper, which, regardless of how familiar you are with Leonardo's body of work, you are going to recognize this painting. The painting was made by Leonardo sometime between 1452 and 1519. It was commissioned by the Duke of Milan, and the painting depicts the Last Supper of Jesus Christ and his disciples. The painting is often pointed out to not being accurate to the time or how the night would have actually looked, the biggest reason being that they are all dramatically seated on one side of the table. However, what I found more interesting was the usage of this painting in modern media and its references in pop culture. Appropriation is reusing another piece of media to give an additional layer to an art piece or any other media. I think most people hear the word appropriation and immediately assume that it's a terrible thing to do. I think this comes from the term cultural appropriation, which is when things are taken from a minority population and used in a disrespectful manner by the majority population, like Halloween costumes of racist stereotypes. However, appropriation that is respectful can really add depth to a piece of work. One of my favorite examples of this, Eddie Adams' comic Pinky and Pepper Forever, which appropriates the main characters, Pinky and Pepper, from the British Direct's failed fashion doll line, Pinky Cooper and the Jet Set Pets. The appropriation provides a really interesting commentary on feminism because of the stark difference between Eddie Adams' comic versus the original Pinky Cooper doll line. Now, when we think about the story of The Last Supper, it's a story about betrayal, forgiveness, and acceptance of a terrible outcome. In the story, Jesus and his disciples are having their yearly Passover meal. However, Jesus has been betrayed by his disciple, Judas. This will later lead to Jesus' crucifixion. Jesus and Judas are the only two people at the meal who are aware of the situation, but Jesus does not tell his other disciples that Judas betrayed him. He just says that one of them will betray him, and he does not say who. In Leonardo's painting, we can see the outright anger and fear all the disciples are expressing over the idea that one of them is going to betray Jesus. From a storytelling perspective, using the imagery of Leonardo's Last Supper to foreshadow a betrayal or a death of a character is super symbolic, and the iconic, very recognizable nature of the painting setup, thanks to everyone being on one side of the table, being spread out in the way that they're spread out, helped communicate the story very, very well. The painting has popularized this biblical story in a way that an audience can recognize that it's a reference to the Last Supper of Jesus Christ when the cast of the image is seated for a meal on one side of the table. Leonardo arguably created one of the biggest foreshadowing tools of pop culture back during the Italian Renaissance, allowing people to fully understand a narrative with a single frame. A concept like that today would be groundbreaking, but he somehow did it forever ago. All of that to say, I created my own version of the Last Supper. I think more people should reference other people's work in their work in a way that provides more meaning, and I think the Last Supper is super neat. But yeah, here, ta-da!